Chaos careened into my morning like a wild lawnmower. It began when a cellist occupied a folding chair in my front yard, sawing away at her strings as if auditioning for a Gothic opera. I then noticed a giant peacock ice sculpture sweating by my favorite hydrangeas, its meltwater pooling into a swamp, threatening the immaculate root system of my lawn. By the time I watched caterers lugging tables out of a rusty van and some dude constructing a flower archway, I was thinking if I had passed out and woken up in a reality show or flower-themed takeovers. I don't deal with drama. I'm the guy who uses his sense of humor and his lawn to speak for him. Weekends are spent creatively hedging my lawn using precision razors, scheduling sprinklers like the launch team at NASA, and snapping photos of mowing lines so fine that they'd make a golf course weep. My oasis is my yard. So when I limped out into bathrobe and coffee cup, I spotted Barbara Klein, self-styled empress of the Willow Bend HOA, smiling behind a trellis covered in daisies that she'd installed on my lawn overnight. I rubbed my eyes to ensure that I wasn't dreaming from a fever. "Barbara!" I lashed out, with a voice cold as glass. "Oh, you're awake," she chirped as if we'd scheduled a block party. "We needed your lawn for Sophia's engagement shoot. It's the most photogenic angles." Sophia, her 23-year-old daughter, was a human algorithm from TikTok, all very staged energy and over-the-top size. I took in the scene: 2 photographers, a stylist holding a handheld fan, and a smoke machine humming like it was getting ready to open up for a metal band. A blue-green rug was rolled out down my driveway, and on my hood lay a tray of macarons next to a bride-to-be sign. "You needed my yard," I echoed, "so you turned it into a movie set?" Barbara offered me a smile made of teeth and a lack of sincerity. "Just for today, Jack. Your property values will soar. Sophia's photos will light up Willow Bend's socials." I sipped my coffee. Great, because my grass was in need of macaron dust and smoke buildup. A man-bunned, attitude-doing photographer clicked. "Get out of the way, you're in the shot." "The shot?" I said. "Friend, I'm in my robe. This is my house. That's my azalea you're shoving on." He brushed me aside, focusing his attention on Sophia, who was standing in front of my bird feeder as if it were a Venetian canal. I glanced at Barbara. No warning, no email, no text, not even a carrier pigeon. She threw herself theatrically to one side. "I did leave a note for you in your mail slot. It said, 'Relax, it's fine.'" "Oh, great," I joked. "Provided it's in Comic Sans, we're set." She stepped closer, her voice saccharine but venomous. "It's not a big deal, Jack. Be a good neighbor and return home." I had staked out the takeover: tables, tripods, a coffee cart, and a sign over my garden gnome reading, "Reserved for bridal party." My gnome scowled as fiercely as I did. "Barbara," I set my mug down. "Trespassing, chaos, stilettos and audacity." She smiled. "It's neighborhood pride. Sophia's engagement is a milestone in our neighborhood." "Then hold it at your house," I snapped back. "I hear your patio's a Pinterest dream." Her eyes were narrowed. "You're not going to derail this, Jack. It's going down with or without your approval." That was it. This wasn't a friendly argument. It was a turf battle. I went in the house, got my phone, and called the non-emergency police number to report trespassing. Then I sent my friend Mike a text message, who had a landscaping company. Bring the heavy gear. If Barbara wanted my lawn for her daughter's fantasy shoot, I'd turn it into a mud-soaked battlefield. By the time Mike pulled up in his rattling truck, toting a trenching auger and a smirk that screamed mischief, the photo shoot was a full-blown circus. Barbara and Sophia had added a floral chandelier hanging from a wobbly arch propped on hockey sticks. Neighborhoods gazed, some snapping pictures as if it were a supermarket tabloid cover story, others complaining about the cost of Sophia's dress. Mike eyed it and said, "This is a liability nightmare." I handed him a cold brew. "Just be cool." We hooked a high-pressure hose up to my backyard spigot, running it around the house. Then we revved up the trencher, shallowly digging grooves under the flower arrangements and across the lawn, like we were installing irrigation but orchestrating chaos. We didn't utter a word to Barbara. When she glanced over, I smiled and waved, yelling, "Just aerating the turf." She waved away her hand. busy with the photographers, chasing after the perfect sunset glow. She had no idea we were setting a trap. Then we let loose the floodgates. Initially, it was a light sheen on the lawn, but as we filled the ditches, the ground became soft. My pristine lawn was slop. Within 15 minutes it was a bog. Sophia walked right into it, her silver stilettos disappearing, her train of her gown slurping into the muck. She shrieked like a coma patient wake-up call. "My dress!" The photographer froze, appalled. The stylist tripped on a grimy table, clutched a brush for all she was worth. The cellist's fingers locked in midair, gasping. Barbara wheeled around, face set aflame. "What have you done?" she yelled. I shook my head. "You wanted rural atmosphere. Mud's as rural as it gets." Sophia thrashed around, her hairdo collapsing on the floor like a fallen soufflé. Barbara stormed towards Media Firebrand, high heels sinking into the mud. "This is sabotage," she bellowed, reeling. "Hilarious," I snapped back, as if I create a soundstage on my lawn and there are consequences. Mike, brandishing a second hose like a pirate with a demented gleam in his eye, laughed. Barbara gestured at him. "You did this." I leaned down closer. "Remember your note? Relax, it's okay. Take this as my answer." The stunt fell apart like a comedy of errors. A visitor slipped, another tripped attempting to assist, and a third slid against the dessert table, macarons scattering everywhere. The cellist pulled her instrument back like it was a religious relic. The flower chandelier tilted, pinning Sophia under flowers. She screamed, a muddy diva amidst a destroyed empire. Barbara, stuck up to the knees in muck, screamed, "I am the HOA president! I'll sue you for this!" I held my phone, displaying the Willow Bend bylaws, 12.3, no private property use without authorization. "You broke a dozen rules, Barbara. This can take away your title, potentially a lawsuit if someone twists a wrist." Her face turned white. And then the van driver, trying to make his escape, came around the wheels, splattering guests in a 12-foot radius of mud. The screams combined were epic. The police arrived at my report, not hers. Barbara tried to claim my lawn as community property. I took the officer to my Ring video. She got a trespassing citation and a lecture on accountability. Mike and I stepped back, pleased with our muddy masterpiece. "Ever think you'd use landscaping as a weapon?" I asked. He chuckled. "Best gig ever." But I wasn't finished. As Barbara slunk away, mud-encrusted, I stood with Mike. Phase 2, Mud Arena. His smile flashed. "No kidding?" "Yeah," I replied. "If they're going to use my lawn for parties, they're paying per view." By noon the next day, we'd decided. Tarps, ropes, a real mud pit. I handled promotion, putting up neon flyers for Mud Mania Sunday on every lamppost and cafe in town. This wasn't revenge, it was a manifesto. Neighbors gossiped as the pit grew. Mrs. Carter assumed it was an avant-garde garden. I told her it was more like UFC with prettier dirt. By Saturday, we'd put up a sign. Mud Mania Sunday, 2 p.m., bring your beef. Then Barbara lashed back. Friday night, she rolled in with her hoe militia, clipboards, blazers, and the scent of suburban inquisition. "This is absurd," she snarled, heels sinking into my lawn. "Your mud circus is not code compliant." She thrust a cease and desist letter into my hand, printed in a font that screamed hysteria. "Nice," I said. "Did you choose this font to accompany your breakdown?" Her sidekick, Carl, a retired accountant with a permanent scowl, piped up. "You need board approval for gatherings over 10 people. You're liable for damages." I smiled. "It's Mud Mania, capital M. Branding's everything." Barbara's face flushed to beet red. "You're making fun of us." "No," I said, pointing towards the pit. "You made fun of me when you turned my lawn into a bridal studio. This is karma." Sunday arrived, and the cul-de-sac was abash. Children with signs, a pirate-hatted individual, a person with a food truck. At 2, Mike in a duct-tape championship belt fought Tara, a retired wrestler. The crowd cheered as they mud wrestled. Then Barbara arrived, dragging a deputy. "Arrest him!" she yelled, pointing into the pit. The deputy blinked. "Sir, what's this?" I smiled. "Private affair, my land. No charges, just neighbors having fun." Barbara fumed. "It's a health hazard." The deputy shrugged. "No noise complaint, no laws broken. Sue us." The crowd chanted, "Mud mania! Mud mania!" Then a young boy, Liam, sprinted ahead, cannonballed into the pit, and splattered mud on Barbara's white blazer. The crowd erupted. Sludge-covered Barbara shrieked and slipped, teetering on the verge of falling into the pit. I gave her a towel. "Don't worry, it's okay." She marched off, her entourage scattering. I decided to take the fight to Barbara's playground, the HOA board. Monday, I announced my candidacy for president, sending all my neighbors a letter of respect for property and no more peacock sculptures. Barbara retaliated with a sign in my front lawn, itemizing violations like flagrant disregard for community aesthetics. I planted it in her front yard with a note, "Barbara's masterpiece." She and her minions campaigned with flyers showing me as mudslinging anarchist. I retorted with photos of her mud-covered defeat, captioned, "Leadership we need." Neighbors organized, fed up with her bullying and fines. The clubhouse was packed at the HOA meeting. Barbara's speech about standards drew snores. I took the mic. "I'm not here to fine your mailbox or micromanage your hedges. I want a community, not a regime." The crowd roared. The vote was a rout. 68-14 for Jack Riley, HOA president. Barbara stormed out, muttering about errors. Mike high-fived me. "Mudlord Supreme!" A week later, a lawyer's letter arrived, threatening to sue for emotional trauma from Mudmania. I replied with a pit photo and caption, "This is what you receive when you bring peacocks to a lawn war." The lawyer did not reply. Friends of Barbara filed grievances, lawn desecration, misuse of authority. I presented a slideshow at the following meeting. Barbara's reign of ridicule, ending with her threats of lawsuits. The room laughed, then passed my Lawn Liberty Act, barring use of property without consent and armed with bylaws. Barbara vanished and moved to a more buttoned-down community where she supposedly lost another HOA election to a lady who ran a llama farm. My lawn recovered, Mudmania turned into a monthly potluck supper, and Sophia, eloped in Vegas now, apologized for the chaos, attributing the cause to Barbara. I gave her a belt of mud wrestling. She smiled. Willow Bend was ours again. No peacocks were needed.